Greetings and salutations, test takers. This is the Series 7 Guru coming to you from my off-grid studio, getting our kicks on historic Route 66. I'm pleased to report the prodigal son has been found. We are missing our VIP wingman, the Test Geek in living form, Brian Lee, managing member, Test Geek Exam Prep LLC. But he is found. He's joining us tonight. He's always adds a lot of value to our whatever we can help you with. Okay, let's go over some housekeeping, and then we'll see what we can help you with. If you are, tell us what series exam you're taking and where you're joining us from. Let's see who wins the prize, booby prize, for being from the longest place. I have some things coming up I want to share with you. First thing is next week I'll be doing another remote live stream of the Old Havana Cigar Lounge. We'll be starting at 4 p.m. next week. Yes, because I have a presentation I've been asked to deliver at one of my private clubs. They've asked me to talk to their membership about the economy and investments, and I've agreed to do so. That's the second Tuesday. It starts at 6 p.m. So it should give me time to get the live stream done, get back over to the speakeasy, the club, before we're doing the presentation. Friday, we have a free tutoring office hour. That's for our Facebook tribe, our test-taking tribe, called Baby Brokers Doing Hat Tricks. We're now coming up, Brian, on 5,300 members. It is the most active FINRA and NASAA Exam Prep Facebook group out there. So if you're not a member of that, I'll have it streaming on the bottom here in a minute. In fact, I'll do that in just a sec. Join that and join us Friday if you want. You go to deantinneytutoring.zepmore.com. You can also find a link on the Facebook group. You're not alone. Feel free to join us there. And then last thing, Thursday, I'm premiering an SIE practice test that I generated with AI. You can watch me do it. I'll be there running a live chat as the video premiere. So those are all our housekeeping details in terms of the calendar. Let's go back now and boom, boom, boom. Let's change our banner there. Boom, we'll change that. And If you are looking for a free supplement to your paid study materials, there is nothing better than my YouTube channel. Coming up on 11 million views, 3 million watch hours. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Over 70,000 subscribers. If you are want to binge, go to the series playlist. I've organized it by series playlist. So if you're taking the 66, for example, you go to the 66 playlist. There's 4 of them. They're in suggested watch order. The first playlist is Brian and I doing a podcast overview of the 66. You know, we would like you to read the book, but Brian and I know, as much as we are OGs and say, read the book, maybe you don't read the book, and that'll give you a nice overview of the entire exam. So if you don't like something, it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But those playlists are in suggested watch order. The videos within them are in suggested watch order. If you're looking for a particular topic, please use the channel search bar. You don't want to go trying 3,000 videos, try and put accrued interest or margin or fiat currency or QDRO. Put that in the channel search bar and all that content will magically appear. I'm getting more aggressive, Brian. I'm telling people to use the channel search bar because, it's okay. We know, Brian and I, we're going to get asked questions. We've been asked and have answered dozens of times, and they live forever in video form. But if you're looking for something, don't remember that. Now, if you're looking for paid study materials, supplements, Brian and I are supplements. We're not a substitute for your primary study materials. But Brian has been kind enough to give our viewers a 20% discount code on his paid supplement, all in with Brian's video course, his PDFs, his practice test. Somebody on social media, Brian said, once again, the Test Geek practice test was the best in terms of the actual test, giving them that vibe. There's others that claim that, but Brian's exam is tried and true. All in, I think it's a little over $100. You can buy things a la carte if you'd like. If you don't have a Kaplan Cubic, I highly recommend that as well. On the Series 7, for example, that would give you 3,600 performance opportunities in a performance tracker for as little as $55.80. Be careful. That discount code works on all Kaplan products and services. Be careful of false prophets. People who are offering you discount codes to the Kaplan that don't include my free office hour of tutoring. I charge $4.95 for tutoring, so that's a substantial value. So I know that Ken Finnan sometimes is giving people LPO discounts codes that don't work at LPO, which in and of itself I find, not right. But it doesn't come with an hour of tutoring. I do that about every other week, so keep that in mind when you're using a discount code. They're not all created equal. if you're looking for help, you're not alone. What happened there? Where's our Facebook? Oh, that's not the ticker. We have the Facebook group, but we also have subreddits. It looks like my banners for my subreddits have disappeared somewhere. Anyways, if you're looking for our subreddits, we have a subreddit community for the 6, R Series 6. We have one for 63, 65, 66, R66, and we have one for 9, 10s, and 24, R Series 24. We have one for the SIE and 7, which is R Series 7. So those are our subreddits. All right, let's see. I have any other housekeeping? I think that's pretty much it. All right, let's see what's going on, Brian, in the comments. Let's do it. Oh, excuse me. Well, we have juniper trees out here in Arizona, these juniper trees. Oh, my God, they cost so much. Things. All right, so boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Minnesota. So many nice people in Minnesota. I almost always, when I visit Minneapolis, get into an accident because people are so courteous that I get to the right-of-way thing and nobody, everyone wants to let everybody else go, and it confuses me. I'm a California guy. We're used to punching it and going right. Just past the 66. Kudos. Woo! Well, you know what that means? We should keep track of when this streak will be unbroken. But that means that Dean does get to light a victory cigar and have a victory spirit. Tonight we're doing an artisanal mezcal that I have custom made for me in Guadalupe Valley outside of Ensenada, and we're doing an aging room Cuatro, which was a former cigar of the year. So that is what we are using for our celebration. Let me get that going. I don't know how hot it is in Vegas, but here, Brian, it is so hot.
108.
If I'd like, as much as I'd like to pour myself a scotch or a nice bourbon, too hot. So a good cold, ice cold mezcal is, I think, what speaks.
While you're sipping that, I will regale you with my experience yesterday afternoon in downtown Seattle in the march to the stadium for the USA.
Oh boy, we got our ass kicked.
Which was a lot of fun up until the match, and then it sucked.
We got our butts kicked. I think, I hate to say it, I'm a patriotic American, but I think we deserve to get our butts kicked.
So, well, the way they play, they certainly did.
And I think Belton is.
There's one being downtown with all the people, and
I do that. Belton, I think, is supposed to be better than us, anyways, just in soccer. I don't think soccer is our game. I mean, is it? I don't think so, right?
It's because we have too many other professional sports that kind of takes away the talent.
Like baseball, basketball, football. I bet there's no Belgian team that could beat ours in any of those sports. SIE from Boston. All right, woo! I don't know, Brian, if you follow the NBA like I do, but
not NBA too much.
Brad has taken some heat. Brad Stevens for trading Jaylen Brown to their arch enemy, the Philadelphia 76ers. And didn't get much back in return, so we'll see how that plays out. 65 from Michigan. So you're Michigander. Are you one of those uppers, or what do we call them? Uppers or UPers or something? The Upper Peninsula, which I hear is like a vast wilderness. Are you in Michigan proper, like Detroit area? Metro Detroit, Michigan. All right. I had the honor and privilege, Nikki, of tutoring the grandson of the founder of Little Caesars Pizza. And some of us start with an advantage in life. His dad is a former Morgan Stanley broker. And it was funny. We were going over Starbucks, and I was saying that I had the opportunity to be in on the ground floor of Starbucks. And I thought, well, who's going to pay $5 for a cup of coffee? Nowadays, I hit them 10 and I don't get change back. I'm like, oh my God. But anyways, he said, when I told him that story, he said, my grandfather, the founder of Little Caesars Pizza, he missed out on being on the ground floor too. And he said, Dean, my granddad said, well, why would you buy a cup of coffee for $5 when I'll sell you the whole damn pizza for $5? Well, oh well. Testing Friday, Series 7, chance number 2. Thanks for the great content. I hope I can get over the line. I do too. You're welcome. Like I say, we have 3,000 videos. We have lots of content. Please remember, it's a supplement. Every once in a while, I get somebody who said they only used either Brian's or my supplement as their primary, and we certainly don't recommend that. We certainly don't recommend that. In fact, to be honest, I wish, Brian, they wouldn't put that on social media because, then it just gives other people ideas. Brian,
I think the majority of people know. I think the majority know.
Don't be frugal. Get some paid side returns. Yeah. What to expect on the second 7? Well, Kale, you went in the cave, you saw the Series 7 dragon. He doesn't really change that much. I mean, Brian and I tend to agree on this. I'll let Brian talk about this. The draws are completely random, and I don't know when your second attempt is. So we have two. We have friendly user 12 and testing Friday, and we have Kale, and we don't know when you're testing. But one of the common mistakes people make is they prepare for the last draw. They spend so much time on the things they're weak on that other things slip, and then they get a different draw. So you almost got to overlearn everything, pretend you didn't fail, and just start over. Now, I'm not saying don't identify the areas from the first attempt that need remediation. Now, I don't want to put a negative vibe out there, but when people fail the second time, we don't wish that on you. Brian and I don't believe that's knowledge deficit. We think sometimes that means maybe you're making some basic test taking mistakes in terms of technique, changing answers, overthinking things. So I would want you to really do some debrief with yourself, both of you, and say, what do I think was the cause of my first miss? Just so you kind of own that and can remediate accordingly. Brian, your thoughts on this second attempt on these two test takers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, the remediation part of this is what it's all about. And the simulated exams help you that way. And by taking the simulated exams, you're still covering everything, not just the weak areas. But use the performance tracker. There's your weak areas. Do the simulated exam. That covers everything. So again, you're keeping the old axe sharp for when you go in to see that dragon.
I always tell people too, we don't wish this upon you, because I get so excited sometimes when people pass after their first miss that people I think I'm wishing that you would have that. No, I don't wish on anybody that misfortune. But when you do pass that second attempt, you can expect, if you're on Baby Brokers doing hat tricks or our Series 7, to get the following message from me: kudos on passing two tests, your Series 7, and more importantly, a test of your resiliency. By the way, Brian, I have haters, as you know, and they think that my messages are auto-populated. It's really not me. So, Kel, I will assure you that Dean actually does sit down every morning and every evening and respond to every message that is sent to me. If for some reason I don't, let me know, because you might have fallen through the cracks. Series 7, 20 days. Elio, I love that. I think you were with us last Tuesday. I just love your avatar. That thing is so cool. Series 7, 20 days. Third attempt. So same thing we just said, except now even more important. Bob Ryan supplemental course. Ooh. Took the options quiz. Got a 72. That's great. A lot of aha moments. Don't you love that, Brian? I love that. That's just, when the lights go on and either Brian or myself were helpful in that, I think that's just so very gratifying. And that's one of the things that we really get a kick out of. Brian and I are at a stage in our life where we really don't need to be doing this. You ever join us for cigars and, spirits? We spend a whole night talking, why do we do this? And then we get something like that. We go, woohoo, okay, back to work we go, right?
Dean, this is exactly what we have been doing, you and I, for the last 30 years. You take that 600 pages, that humongous volume of content, and we get to show you where all the nuggets are.
Yeah,
so come to us. Here we are. Here's the nuggets. Look at this. This is the way it shows up on the test. This is the way you should answer it. That's what we do. We find nuggets.
Brian, I call Brian the master distiller, because he is really good at distillation of that 600-page plus manual to what's important. Taking the SEIE on Friday, Kaplan test. You looking good. I don't see any problems there.
Nice.
Amount of burnout. Well, be careful. Burnout is real. I always joke, Colt, that you don't want to run out of fuel as you're circling the airport, right, before you stick the landing. So if it's Friday, I think your scores are great. And I want you to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on Friday. I would give yourself permission to take tomorrow off with those scores, just to refresh, reset, and so make sure your reading skills are on top form. Now, I agree that is kind of an aggressive recommendation to you, but I would rather that than you actually run out of fuel when you're tired. And when I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. Brian, will you agree with me, or should he keep his rhythm on tomorrow? What do you think?
See, test is Friday. It's 2 days. Yeah, and he's already scoring very well.
Where it needs to be.
Just remediate some of the weak areas. Keep it low key. You don't need to work 8 hours a day anymore, for crying out loud. In that space, 2 to 3 hours, maybe at the most.
I actually say to people, Brian, I call it the 747 principle. The 747 principle, it takes a 747 120% of rated power to get off the ground. Seat back, nose up, but it only takes a 747 70% of rated power to fly. So a whole is we're trying to tell you your study plan is in flight. So you should be running at 70% of rated power, and then you just want to stick that landing. So just be aware of it. I'm glad you recognize it, by the way. And self-awareness is so important also. To even recognize that you're approaching burnout, I think is helpful to a test taker because, Brian, I don't know about you. I've met test takers who are burnout. They don't even know they're burnout. I got to tell them you're burnout. Brian's course, in my opinion, give the best chance to pass. Well, the Cassius, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I take the Series 7 in a week. Wow, got a lot of Series 7 test takers here. As I call them, Brian, Series 7 Dragon Slayers.
Yes.
Series 7 Dragon Slayers. 66. That's okay. No, you're not screwed.
In a week? No.
You can't get wobbly. When getting wobbly is when you have some data, and rather than responding to the data through remediation, you respond by saying, am I screwed? And the answer is absolutely not. The variance is in your favor on a practice exam. So even if you were testing tomorrow, Brian and I would think there's a better chance you're going to pass than not. We would like you in the mid 70s, but no, you're not screwed at all. I think even thinking you're screwed is stinking thinking. I had somebody on social media today, Brian, I'm going back and forth with, and he has such stinking thinking. And every time I call him out, that he says, well, I have this negative attitude because I failed 3 times. And I want to say, listen, if you would change your attitude, I'm trying not to sound like a, school marm, but it's like, hey, right. So Brian's got something on his board. Let's get Brian his board and see what he has to say.
Yeah. Dean, as you know, we get this question all the time. And as a matter of fact, I tell people every time they email me, go, oh, I need some tutoring. I need this. I go, the only thing you need is a plan. What most people lack is a plan. And this is the question that we get more exponentially than any other question. What should I do that last week, the last 10 days? Simulated exam. Run the performance tracker or whatever your publisher calls it, right? Where they break the score down into the different units. Identify the weak areas. Use Dean or my or both videos to review those units. Take short quizzes on those units. And I mean short, because we don't want to get into the weeds on this stuff, okay? Right? And then guess what? Rinse and repeat. You just rinse and repeat, right? So that would be one day, the simulated exam and running the performance tracker. The next day would be the remediation. Next day, simulated exam. And see, now you're only working 3 hours a day.
You go, Brian. And the other thing I tell people is we have this question and answer. If you just put study plan into the search bar, you can watch Brian do that board work 2-3 times. You can watch me do it. So study plan into the search bar. In fact, I have one, Brian, where it was exact this question 7 to 10 days out. I will clip this and post it once again, and I'll say 7 to 10 days out from your test recommendations. So check that out as well. So we'll repurpose. Take the SIE on July 25th. I just finished up my textbook through Achievable Study Guide, but struggling to remember a lot of the material. What should I do the next 2 weeks? Well, remembering the material, I think, is based on the types of questions we have, right? On the series SIE particularly, the 3 styles are recognition, and the vast majority of them are recognition. Practical application, 2 or 3 questions, current yield, taxable equivalent yield, and then judgment, very little of that. So I am worried about remembering a lot of the material. What I would focus on is the SIE content outline to know what material you do need to be able to recognize, and the SIE practice test. I'm also doing an SIE practice test on Thursday night. You can join me in that chat and we can talk some more about it. But Brian, your thoughts? I think here's, John, where I think Brian does a great service, because we were talking about distillation, and I'd be worried that you're trying to memorize everything in your license exam manual because a lot of it is not testable. So
there's 2 things that stick out. A great question. It's almost like I paid him to ask the question.
We're going to find out that's true.
The textbook. Here's the first thing that I'm not seeing in your question. have you been doing practice questions along the way, right? To help reinforce. Now, again, you don't have to do 147,000 practice questions in each unit, right? But you want to help reinforce that stuff. Now, right? You can't remember it all. That's because it's 600 pages of content. Nobody can remember it. I had to read the damn thing 3 times. But now Dean and I have solved that for you. That's what we do. We help pick out those nuggets, right, from those 600 pages of content. We concentrate on the core testable content. That's what we've been doing for 30 years. That's your next step.
Yeah, John, right? I would tell you too.
His videos, my videos. And then we take practice finals and remediate 1, 2, 3.
So, John, that second step, the second step that Brian has up there, I call that confirmation. So when somebody asked me, Brian didn't talk about this, or you didn't talk about it, but my past perfect did, or STC or achievable, I said, well, that's non-confirmation. If achievables talked about it, we've talked about it. You watch a video, confirmation. So the good thing about not being monogamous in terms of who you're using in your studies is for this concept of confirmation. You don't have so many voices in your head you get confused, but you do want to have supplements that will confirm what are test issues and what is somebody getting carried away. So, and be careful. I mean, Brian and I, try and stay strictly test focused. But Brian, I have seen some content creators that make 40-minute videos on things that aren't even on the test. So, it's like, and the only reason it hurts my heart is because God forbid some test takers spend 40 minutes on that, and they could have spent 40 minutes on something that we know they're going to get tested on.
Now, just please remember, Dean and I have both been doing this for over 30 years. We've both taken these exams.
Well, friendly, I don't know why you're watching Ken's video on the Series 10. My Series 10 playlist is much better than Ken's. And this is not a channel where we promote Ken's content. Ken's content is not safe for work. It's not safe for home. It has too many inappropriate sexual innuendos and indiscriminate F-bombs. So I suggest you check out my playlist. I think you'll like it a lot better.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We help you to remember that core content, right?
Bless you. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know if that's because I sneezed or you're asking the Almighty to bless me. You're using Kaplan, and I want to take the test in 2 weeks, and I'm only 3 chapters in. Am I capable of passing SIE? We get this all the time. Yes. I call this stinking thinking. The only reason the answer would be no is if you subvert yourself. Right? You're only 3 chapters in. 2 weeks is doable. You gotta get to where we get a practice test because we need a data point. You're not randomly doing practice tests to learn the information, but we need to know how much of that you've absorbed already, right? So you should set 2 goals here, Carter. One is if you got 2 weeks left and you're full-time test taker and I were your accountability partner, I were your trainer, I'd say, hey, when are you going to have that done? And I would say you got to have the reading done and the quizzes done in a week. Then we need a week of practice tests to do intellectual inventories and identify areas for remediation. But my question, I guess, would be, why are you only 3 chapters in? Is this something we can fix in a week? Can you be through the content? But the answer to your question is, yes, you're capable of passing. So it's always yes. I can tell you right now, anybody who puts in this chat, am I capable of passing the exam? Under any circumstance you tell us, we're going to say yes. However, there's best practices that would be better and more probability of passing if you didn't wait till 2 weeks to get 3 chapters read. I know life intervenes. There's other things going on. But, Brian, your thoughts on this? I think it's possible. Do you think it's possible?
The SIE shouldn't be more than 2 to 4 weeks at the most.
Yes. So, Carter, join me Friday night, Carter. Thursday night. Tomorrow night. Join me for that SIE practice test. I'll be in the chat and tell me how you've made what you've done over Wednesday and Thursday, and let's have this discussion again. By the way, when I'm running that, Carter, hit pause, answer the question. I'll be in the chat, hit play. And what I want to know from you in the chat is, does it sound like a foreign language to you? Do you know what question you're being asked? Do you know what answers are being offered to you? Or is it like some foreign language? So tomorrow night, that'll be a good date for you and I. Take my SIE. We'll love in the play and you'll join We'll make it a threesome. Join Carter and me tomorrow night on that SIE practice test. I feel good the second time. Can you just clear up most of the risk for me? We get these broad questions. I like now it gets a little more thing. Can get confused with default. So the two risks in buying any bonds is credit risk and interest rate risk. So your first question about default is credit risk. You're taking an SIE, so this is very basic. Credit risk is that you lend money to a corporation, you lend money to a municipality, you lend money to the U.S. government, and they don't pay you back. That's called credit risk, the risk of default. Now, in those three issuers of debt securities, bonds, basically, the U.S. government, it's almost impossible for the U.S. government to default. You have no credit risk there, no default risk, because the U.S. government can print the stuff for which they owe you, little green pieces of paper. And, by the way, that's called a fiat currency. That's a test question on 65, 66. And the U.S. government can confiscate money from others. Other governments can do that, loving the plan, but they're not confiscating U.S. dollars and they can't print U.S. dollars. That's credit risk. Corporate risk is measured by the credit rating. You should know that a corporation with a credit of below BBB, Standard & Poor's, is less than investment grade. And there you're going to have a greater risk of credit risk than interest rate risk. Now, your prepayment risk is not associated with treasuries because treasury securities, bonds, are not callable. But your prepayment risk is what we call call risk, the risk that you won't be able to hold the bond to maturity. So the prepayment risk is associated with a declining interest rate environment. It's associated with a bond that has call features. Now, most issuers will say we won't call for at least 5 years. If we do, we give you 105. The other type of a place this shows up is in mortgage obligations, Ginnie Mae, for example, CMOs. Because if interest rates go down, people are going to prepay their mortgages. And the thing will end sooner rather than later, right? So those are the two that we get. So default risk, to answer your question, confused, I'm now separating the confusion. Default is about credit risk and prepayment risk is about interest rate risk, declining interest rates. I see Brian's got his board going, so let me give you your board, Brian.
Yeah, I'm just kind of taking notes on what you're saying. That's all, just so that if the young person out there needs to write something
down.
I
just think I nailed that, don't you think, Brian? I'll give myself, you know what? I'm going to give myself a puff on my own victory cigar.
That's it. And, and it's hard to kind of lecture content in this live stream format. But as Dean just told you, he nailed it. These are I think these are the two biggest prepayments for the SIE. It's not the biggest.
Yeah, you got to be careful because again, we warned you about this, loving the plan. That boy, Brian and I, we can go on a rant. We're not going to, Brian, but we can go and rant on what I call cut and paste on test prep vendors. A lot of them just take whatever discussion they had for a particular topic or exam, like Series 7, and then they cut and paste it into their SIE materials. And it's way more complicated than it needs to be for the SIE. So you didn't tell us who your test prep vendor is, but I'm going to blame some of that confusion on your test prep vendor, whoever it may be, because it shouldn't be that complicated for the SIE.
Well, yeah. Well, welcome to the textbooks, right? I mean, that's why you and I make so much money, right? Over the past 30 years, because we know how to put it in common language so people can understand it.
There you go.
There it is. I mean, that's probably 13 pages in somebody's chapter, right? And Dean just did it in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
that's what you need to do is look at Dean's video.
Oh, by the way, what I do is afterwards I clip that. I will clip that. It'll be a short. So I try to keep it under 3 minutes because otherwise it's not a short. Jalen Brown not happy with that. Yeah, Brad Stevens was trying to articulate to the fans who are unhappy why they did it. I don't think he was very, very honest with the analytics that why they decided to do it. But I don't blame him. You don't want to be tarred and feathered in Boston. Yes, I think I asked you to join me, and so I could cover this. So again, Brian, this comes up in Baby Brokers doing hat tricks.
Good question for Seth.
Reddit. So get your board erased there, my friend.
Yep. Got it.
And I told this, I don't know if you're the same test taker. I said, join us Tuesday night And I also invited you to join me Friday for the tutoring, because I thought we could do a better job here, Brian, than we could do in me trying to type out a long-winded response.
Yeah.
And secondly, Brian, thank God he brings his whiteboard when he shows. So the way you identify, let's just start with the first thing. What is a spread? This is only for Series 7. So if you're not a Series 7 candidate, close your ears, go get a spirit, whatever, light yourself a cigar. But a spread means difference. So, Brian, I think, is my best gambling buddy. And what I mean by that is I have other buddies who gamble, but they're not as sophisticated as my friend Brian. So I say, hey, Brian, what's the spread? What I'm asking him is, what is the difference? Right? That's what that means. And he says, Dean, the spread is 3 points or 3 goals in soccer, whatever the case may be. And then we can make a bet about whether we think the score is going to be within that spread or outside of that spread. Now, as it relates to spreads and options, the way to remember it is SOTA. Same option, different action. So you see there, Brian has the same option, but he has different action. It's a buy, sell. And this is, I think, one of the things, it's like foreign language. So long, owner, buyer, holder, buy, that all means the same thing. Brian chose to use the word long, that's fine. But it could say right, sell, short, there's a lot of different language. And Brian, I think, is kind of being a jerk, as Brian is tempted to do, because the premiums are missing here. And I think that's the most complicated one, is when I ask you to identify a spread that is missing premium. So now here's your 2 tricks. One trick is bulls, because you're long the lower strike price. B, because you are, L, long, L, lower strike price. The memory aid device is bulls. So if you don't want to commit intellectually to owning it, you can simply look at Brian's spread there, and I'm going to give Brian the board here so you can see this a little better. We can look at that and say, okay, we're long the lower strike. That's a bullish spread, right? That's one way to do it. We can look at his other spread there. We're not long the lower strike, and so that's bearish. So that's just a test-taking trick or tip that works. Now, the other way we do it, now you got to intellectually own the content, is the larger premium dominates the position. Now, Brian's been kind enough now to give us some premiums, but the hardest thing would be for us to know that lower strike call contracts always have greater premiums. Whether you want to take the long or short perspective, a choice to buy at 30 is more valuable than a choice to sell a buy at 40. And I know that. I'm going to charge you more for it, right? So here we could say, okay, the lower strike call is always going to be dominant because the lower strike call always has a larger premium. Right, so there we go. So there's another way we identify that as bullish. Higher strike puts always have greater premiums. So even Brian's been kind enough to add the premiums there, but even if he didn't, we should know that a 50 put is going to have a greater premium than a 50. A short put is bullish. That is a bullish credit spread. Now that's the other common mistake people make. They think credit and debit mean bullish or bearish, and they certainly don't. One thing I would add to that: longer term option contracts always have greater premiums. So lower strike call contracts always have greater premiums, even if Brian didn't have the premiums on there. Brian, could you do me a favor and just erase your long or short, just get that whole column? So even if Brian didn't show us that, I know that 30 call's got a greater premium. The 50 put has a greater premium. So that's how you identify a spread. Now you are going to get spread questions, and I think the ones missing the premiums are the highest one. By the way, could you erase now your premiums, Brian? Oh, here we go. This is the most complicated. Brian's going to give me grief because he hates when I make things harder than they have to be. But if I said to you, a BKN, how would you, what would create a bearish call spread? Then you should be able to tell me you short the 30 call and you buy the 40 call, right? Because the 30 call would have the greater premium. That would create a credit call spread. Or how do I create a debit spread? I buy the 30, I sell the 40, right? So I think that's as complicated as it gets. Brian, your thoughts on this one?
That's exactly right. And Dean's actually kind of mentioned it. There's probably 3, maybe even 4 ways of determining whether they're bullish or bearish.
Yeah.
Right. Determining the strike prices, right? Because they're going to be the more dominant premiums. And then you can say, okay, if this one is long, then the more dominant option is a long call. Long calls are bullish. Yeah, there's myriad ways.
By the way, I would say make sure that whatever you're doing, you have a process. So my process is to identify it as a spread, determine where it's debit or credit, exercise expire, widen or narrow, max gain, max loss, break even, bullish or bearish. That's my process. But have a menu or whatever you're doing to do that.
Long the lower is the
easiest. I have a whole video. I have 300 option videos. So you can also put bull or bear spreads, and magically dozens of videos will appear.
I don't know if you know this, Dean, but I pulled my option lessons out of my Series 7 as a standalone course, just the options portion.
Oh, well, there you go. How much you charging for that? Do we know?
75, 85, something like
20% off. What's that? Do I do the math? Minus 15, so $60.
Yeah, something like that.
I got that. So yeah, Brian and I, by the way, the other reason Brian and I like working together is Brian and I are similar. We disagree about certain things, like any cardinals in the Catholic Church would. But for the most part, we're on the same kind of thing the way we teach options, right? So
yes.
You won't get confused if you're using my videos and you bring in supplement. But again, here's why you would spend the $60. So here we go, BKN. If you put that into my channel, you're going to get 300 option videos. And you're going to send me an email, like, which 300 should I watch? I don't know. If you send $60 on Brian, he's going to do the distillation for you. He's going to make the edit for you, and you'll only be watching things you need to watch. I believe in abundance. Take the SIE on Thursday. Getting 60, a little worried about passing. Any tips you have? I think I think we answered this, didn't we? Was it you or a different SIE test taker? The main thing is keep your positive mental attitude. Don't get wobbly. Being worried is okay. A little anxiety is okay, but a lot of it is not okay. So, make sure it's not debilitating and just keep working. All you can do is what you can do. Keep working. Stay dedicated. Stay disciplined. Stay organized. Brian, what would you add to that?
Simulated exam, performance tracker, review the videos.
Keep working.
That's what's going to bring those scores up. I'm telling you.
That's right.
Because you need repetition.
And you, by the way, you can't just mindlessly be doing practice tests without the remediation. It's a waste of your time to just keep taking practice tests. I would say no more than one a day. You should spend as much time on remediation, laying more base, reading, watching videos as you did taking the exam. If you follow our recommendations, those scores will pop. We'd like you in the mid 70s, but 60s are okay. I did a class on a corporate campus, or 20 people in the class. They take a practice test Friday, they test Monday. And we had 20 people in the cohort. And I told the corporate trainer, I said, we have 12 people that are over a 70. I don't think we need to worry about it. There's variance on the Kaplan practices in your favor. We had 6 people that were between 60 and 70. This is you. And I said, we're going to lose 3 of the 6. And she goes, well, who are they? And we'll save them. I go, well, if we knew that, we would save them. It's just statistics. I said, there's no reason for that. If they didn't get wobbly, if they did what Brian and I are telling you, they would all pass. But some of them are going to get wobbly. They're going to stop working. They're not going to finish strong. They're not going to stay the course. I was wrong. All 6 of them passed. I was like, woo, right? And that should be the case, by the way. That's what we expect. P.S. We had 2 people who got below 60. That's knowledge deficit. I said to the corporate trainer, I said, they don't know what they're being asked. They don't know what answers are being offered to them. They could pass. Once in a blue moon, somebody like that pass. But they're trying on the weekend to lay more base and do some break. It's just almost impossible. I was proud. They still got high 60s. They still failed the 2 of the 20. But they then retook it. And so we went 18 of 20. And then we eventually, at what's all said and done, we went 20 for 20. By the way, this particular major financial services company, Brian, how much do you love this too? I had somebody send me an email say, hey, Dean, I was checking on my card. I won't mention the firm. And we were talking about Series 7. They said, hey, they had this guy, Dean, as their instructor 15, 20 years ago, who was wonderful. And he called me and I said, oh, that could happen quite a bit. Actually, Brian, I've helped quite a few people over the years. But anyways, at this particular firm, the other thing I want to tell you is I don't know who your sponsoring firm is or you're doing SIE on your own. But there's no way this firm is letting somebody go who got a 68, made that kind of a comeback from Friday to Monday. They're going to get their second opportunity. When you don't get your second opportunity, it's sometimes how you respond to the miss. And I have somebody in social media that I don't know them well enough to say this is not the attitude I hope you're displaying to your firm. or your corporate trainer. They're blaming everybody but themselves for missing the mark.
Oh, be still my beating heart. You can take the guy out of Delaware, but you can't take the Delaware out of the guy.
Oh, I forgot. That's Brian's home state.
No two hands. Yeah.
That's where the Lee clan hails from. There you go. Now, how close is Delaware to Philadelphia? It's pretty damn close.
It's close to everything.
Okay, there you go.
I grew up about 35 miles south of Philly.
Okay,
so
there you go.
For Philly teams. Yeah.
All right, so the Sixers are the team. I guess the Eagles would be the football team then, huh?
Yeah. We have a small percentage that go to Baltimore.
I was just going to say there's.
Right.
What's the NPV on the Jaylen Brown trade? I love that.
That's a great question.
I love that. So present value of Jaylen Brown's contract. I think that there's positive NPV for the Sixers based on what they gave the Celtics for Jaylen Brown. Now, there are rumors, Cameron, that other teams weren't willing to give them anything. So they end up into a forced kind of a situation with Jaylen. But I would say there's positive, by the way, for those of you wondering what Cameron and I are talking about, on your 65 or 66, the net again means difference, right? The difference between present value and, doing a DCF valuation, right? So when we see that Jaylen Brown is, I think, a 5-time NBA All-Star, a Finals MVP, a Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he carried the team by himself in Jason's absence, we would say, wow, top 6 in MVP voting this last season. So we would say, hey, okay, what's this player worth? And when we come up, now obviously the Celtics and the Sixers disagree on the NPV of Jaylen Brown. But to answer your question, I like it. I would say that it had positive NPV to the Sixers. I think what did they give up? They gave up Paul George, who claims to be all that and never has been in terms of finals or playoffs or so.
He's not a Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, that's certainly not, and he's older. So about the same money, too. I always believe in getting younger rather than older if you can. Second attempt next Friday. Did another read through the Kaplan book, hammering practice questions with Gemini and Kaplan. Brian's practice exam later on early week. Any other suggestions? Love it. Anything you want to add to that? I love it. By the way, Brian's practice test, I always love to tell people if they haven't already done it, I want that to be their last data point. I like people to do your practice test, Brian, that last intellectual inventory a couple days out. Because that data, I think, has the most correlation to the actual exam. So that would help us recognize, where you're at. So if you haven't already done Brian's practice test, I tell people to print the PDF, put that away, do that a couple days out.
And again, simulated exam, performance tracker, videos to remediate.
Mm-hmm.
Simulated exam, performance tracker, videos to remediate.
Ladybug. Hey, Dean and Brian, taking my second 7 next week. Got a 71st try. I've got at least 2 questions on control relationships. Certainly. So control relationships are when the issuer controls the broker-dealer or the broker-dealer controls the issuer. I think the one that most people, find this to be something they can recognize. If I'm a Merrill Lynch broker, Ladybug, and you buy a Bank of America stock, on your confirmation, it will tell you there's a control relationship between Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, right? The holding company, Bank of America, controls the broker-dealer, Merrill Lynch. Second point. So it's going to be on your confirmation. That's the test questions on business cards. It's everywhere. Second point, Ladybug, is what do you think I'm going to say about Brian Monahan if I'm a Merrill Lynch broker? Do you think I'm going to say he's overpaid and underworked? Or am I going to say he's a wonderful guy? I'm probably going to say he's a wonderful guy, right? So Ladybug, second point, if I have discretionary authority on your Merrill Lynch account and I call you and I say, hey, I really think we should buy some Bank of America stock. And you say, well, Dean, you have discretionary authority. I don't know why you don't just buy me Bank of America stock. I saw Ladybug's second test question. I'm not allowed to use discretionary authority when there's a control relationship. I need your permission. So that will be on the order ticket solicited, Ladybug, my idea. Discretion not exercised, meaning even though I have discretion, I didn't use it. So those are the 2 test questions, identifying the control relationship and then what follows from that control relationship. Anything, Brian, you want to add to that?
Might there be a control relationship involving a municipality?
Yes. So now
That's
this,
the one I
I
remember.
don't know why Brian Monahan would do this, but let's say Brian is asked to sit on the city council of, I don't know, Charlotte, North Carolina. I can't imagine he'd say yes to this. Right? And if I were the attorneys and general counsel, I'd say this is just stupid. Brian could be a problem, is a problem, never be a problem. Bank of America Ladybug is huge in the municipal underwriting business. And so now the city council of Charlotte thinks we're going to build a new stadium for the Panthers, $1 billion, and we need to hire an investment banking firm. And Brian says, "Hey, that's what we do. You can hire us on a negotiated basis." And now I call you again as a Merrill Lynch broker, and I say, "Hey, Ladybug, I think you should buy these Charlotte stadium bonds, public purpose, non-essential bonds." She goes, "You have discretion, so I don't know why you're bothering me." I said, "Well, there's a control relationship because Brian Monahan represents the issuer." By the way, same relationship. He represented the issuer, Bank of America, but now Brian's point, he represents the municipal issuer. Same thing needs to be disclosed in that confirmation, and I can't use my discretionary authority. So good.
As Dean has explained, these are potential conflicts of interest, and that's what we want to do is disclose those to our customers.
Yeah, and trust me, why? If Brian did that, I would sell my Bank of America stock because I'd say exactly that. I'm on the last chapter. Woohoo! Do you recommend what steps do you recommend? Well, we've gone over this, Louisville. I don't know when you joined us. We've gone over this a lot. So you should. I don't know if you did quizzes as you were reading, or if you just did your first read.
Yeah.
But assuming you did your quizzes as you were doing the reading, now you're ready to do your first practice test and get a score. Oh, there you go, 20 per chapter. I love it. So that's exactly what you should do.
Exactly.
So, but now, Brian, you're in that mid group there again, right? So now what we're working on is, I've been joking, distillation or consolidation of that information. Right? So that's what that middle column Brian has got. I've called it 3 things today: confirmation, consolidation. What else did I call it? Whatever I said. So that's what you're working on now to confirm those test issues, right? And then you want to do a practice test. I don't see where you're taking your test. I was looking into a month from now. Okay, well, now I got to call you out, Leo. I don't like the no test date. It is not best practice to do all the work you've done and not have a test date. We need a date certain. So too late now, but for those who are watching this, you should have set your date and then reverse engineer your study plan. So if you haven't set your study plan test date, I'd want you to do it. I was working with you, Louisville, I said the next time you convene, I need a test date from you. I'm thinking 2 weeks, Brian. What do you think? 2 weeks from now?
For what exam? The 66? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so
here it is: 7 to 10 days for the simulated exams. Probably no more than a week for the videos, and probably 2 weeks, depending on which exam you're taking. There's 2 to 4 weeks. Right there.
Yeah. So I like exactly where you're at. So that's our recommendation. Do the consolidation.
Yeah, he's doing great. I like it. I like what he's done so far.
So, but for those watching, make sure you get your test date first. That's best practice. Best practice means, again, it's my way of saying it's a buffet. Take what you like, leave what you don't. But hey, mine I've been doing a long time, so you're at risk if you're not following, the process that we know works. I love it. Love it. I love it. That sounds like you're following our recommendations, Louisville.
It really does.
It sounds like you're following the process we recommend. So love it. Love it.
Good job.
I'm testing on my Series 10 on Monday, and I've been getting 70s on my finals. Got a 77. Love it. The 10 is such a slog. What should I focus on? Man, what a great question, because the 10 is all over the place. I don't know what your background is. Friendly. I hope I pronounced that friendly. Make sure you pay attention to sales supervision. I call Series 10 babysitting Series 7s. Right? So sales supervision. And Brian, my experience, and I'd like to see what you think, is that people who struggle on the 10, it's because they've been doing packaged products or retail. And so some of the banking and some of the trading can be a little more challenging. So I always want you to overlearn that. Your thoughts on that, Brian? But hey, by the way, STC is a reputable test prep vendor, so I don't see any red flags here. I think you're going to make your mark. So that's the first thing I'd say. You're going to make your mark So don't let anything we say make you get wobbly. Brian, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. Again, I'm just a big, Dean, I have become such a big proponent of those performance trackers, which, of course, we didn't have 10 years ago, 15, 20, 25.
Yeah.
They're so nice to say, you know, I talk to people and they go, well, I'm really weak on this. I go, how do you know that? Well, I don't know. I said, well, let's use a performance tracker. Then we'll know exactly where your weak area is. Then we'll review some questions.
No problem. No problem. I apologize for being a little aggressive with you, but it's easy to get confused because Ken is now copying me. He's now calling himself the Series 7 Whisperer, which is easy to get confused. But I am the original Series 7 guru, right? So
also with that 10, Dean, let me ask you this. Don't you often feel that a lot of those questions are less linear than Series 7?
Yeah, a lot of judgment calls.
And a lot of them are FINRA case studies.
Yes, you make the call. I call it you make the call, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I always joke, friendly, that on your Series 7, I always tell Series 7 test takers, Brian, if you have in your answer set, check with your immediate supervisor.
Pick it.
But, on the 10, you are the immediate supervisor. So those answers aren't available to you. Now, we talked about this earlier. Friendly, I think 10, I said, is a slog. I think it's one of the more challenging exams. And I don't want to scare you because I think you're going to pass. But that being said, when people ask, what do you think are some of the hardest? I think 10 is even harder than 24 because it has some of that content in there, but without the kind of the depth or understanding of it. But what I was going to say about this thing about Brian's point here is you're babysitting sevens, and there's a lot more of the judgment questions. So we talked about recognition, practical application, and we talked about judgment. And on your Series 10, a lot of judgment questions, right? And then be careful. Again, I feel like I'm sounding negative vibes. I don't mean to. But the other problem with being a 10 or a 24 is that you already have your house requirements in your head. And sometimes that real world can interfere with the Series 10 fantasy land.
Yeah.
And so you can confuse your house requirement with what the FINRA minimum, rule is, right? So be careful on that as well. What are the best paid study items for the SIE? Well, obviously Brian's is the best, or, I wouldn't have him here on the other side of the screen talking of his content. So I think the best study, you need, let me back up. As we've said, you need a primary study material. And I would recommend Kaplan. Obviously, I like Kaplan. But SBC is a reputable vendor. Notman Marks is charge a higher price, but I think they add value. Past Perfect, I think, has too much, but too much is better than not enough. So I would go with a reputable vendor. There are people now who are generating courses, Brian, just based on AI. Create me an SIE course, and they're putting it up. And what I've told people who ask me about this particular vendor, I said, that vendor is not tried and true. Kind of like Brian and I, we have a track record in a good way. We've helped tens of thousands of test takers over many decades. Something to be said for that. And so I would stay away from vendors who aren't in that wheelhouse. So Kaplan would be my favorite. Am I missing anybody? Exam FX, I think, is a little skinny. So I'm not a big fan of Exam FX. I'm not a big fan of Achievable because of the variance in their practice tests and the actual exam. So even though I know a lot of people use Achievable, I'm not a big fan of Achievable because of that variance. I don't think it matters on the SIE, to be honest with you, but it matters on some of the other exams. Anything you want to add to that? Best buddy, what's our top 10? Maybe we should make a video. You and I, Brian, go through study materials and benchmark them or something. Are you with me?
Yeah, and again, that same 3-pillar process, the textbook, the videos, the simulated exam.
The reason
you can fill in these, and Dean just gave you a list of like 5 different vendors for this.
The reason I like Kaplan, Kaplan is competitive advantage is the QBank.
I do too. That's exactly right.
QBank is the best. Exactly. Now, I should tell you that Brian and I have spent years as senior instructors at Kaplan. Can you believe it? Bill James, August 14th, Brian, he's retiring from Kaplan.
Oh, no. Is he really?
The last of the Mohicans. I said,
wow.
Is that it? Who's left? That's it. Nobody from Brian and I's era there is still left.
He's the only one left.
Yeah, and he's retiring. So
wow.
I've been watching lectures on most of the information for just investing at a young age. I love that. If I really wanted to teach you how to swim, flippant, I'd throw you into the pool. I'd say, think or swim, right? Same thing what I like about your investing. If I really wanted to teach you how to invest, I'd make you buy something, you lose all your money, and that would be a learning experience. So I like that. I like that. Well, first thing I would say, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Amari? I'm going to go with Amari. I apologize if I'm messing that up. But first thing I would say is Brian and I both agree that people who are math phobic think there's way more math than there is. And then they go down rabbit holes on the math that we don't think they're actually going to need to actually do. And I would tell you, depending on your exam, SIE particularly, you could guess be a sign of the universe. And if you tell me you missed because of math on the SIE, I'm going to say you have bigger problems elsewhere. So join me, Imari, tomorrow night. I told you I got that practice test we're doing. And we have a current yield. They ask you to recognize current yield. And I said we should be prepared to do that. And that practice test I'm premiering tomorrow. So, but on this SIE, maybe you have to do current yield. Maybe you might have to do taxable equivalent yield, something like that. But make sure that you realize it's not material to your success. In other words, if you overlearn it and you just guess being a sign of the universe, I think you'd be okay. I'm not suggesting you do that. What do you think, Brian?
May I, Dean, take 20 seconds to show you one of those math questions?
There we go.
Watch this. I'm not going to write out the entire question.
Yeah.
Let's just say your customer, right, purchases a 6% bond at $940. What is the current yield? Now, as soon as I ask that, 47% of America starts breaking out in a cold sweat, right? Because it's, oh my God, it's math. Now watch this. Oftentimes on exam, I'm not going to say this all the time, but many times, right? You're probably going to see answers that look something like this, okay? And Dean knows exactly where I'm going already with this. There's your answers. Now, how much math do you think that question actually takes?
It ends up, Amari, being a teeter-totter question.
That's right. See, FINRA doesn't care about your math skills. They care about knowing the concepts that if you buy the bond at a discount from par, the yield is going to be higher than the coupon rate. Guess what? There's only one answer.
Now, if I asked you to do that, Amari, if you want to do it, it would be 60 divided by 940. The annual interest.
Dean's got to teach you the math, right? Yeah.
P.S. One more point, Brian. I was doing a live stream, and I said, when it came time to do math, and you've heard me say this a lot of times, in my career in the investment banking space, sometimes the math is pretty important. And it depends who's doing your math. And I always use either Brian, my friend Brian, or my friend Lee, who I think are pristine in terms of doing math. And I said, if I had to do some math that was meaningful, I use Lee. He's made tens of thousands of dollars on me. No problem. I'm okay with that, doing math that I choose not to do or that's important. Present value, DCF, whatever. Anyways, I said this, and this guy in live stream says, well, you shouldn't be in our business if you can't do your own math. I'm like, whoa, I would assure you there are all kinds of people in our business who can do the math and do it and make a lot of money. There are all kinds of people who can do the math, choose not to. There's all kinds of people who can't do the math and they just hire somebody to do it. So it's not going to be material to your success either on your exam or in the securities industry. But Brian, I'm with you. There are people. I always joke, we'll take a poll now. I'm going to regret this probably. So Amari, Brian's suggesting you should check out the teeter-totter. Just put teeter-totter in my search bar and this will come up. And you should have a channel on the teeter-totter. The other thing I would ask you, Amari, is where you're going next. Is the next leg of your testing journey a 6 or a 7? But I got to tell you, one thing I always tell people, Brian, is that the math is not going to be important either way. But I start a class. When I start class, I go, how many people love math? Raise your hand. How many people hate math? Raise your hand. And then I say, if you didn't raise your hand, you were apathetic about math. Statistically, you are the worst test takers. The best test takers are people who either love math or hate math. I hate math. I think it's incredibly boring that 2 + 2 is always 4. Math people love that. I love things like, what is beauty? What is truth? We have a couple pictures of beer. We get closer to what it is or isn't. And math people hate that. right? So I would tell you, I wouldn't worry about you if you hate math, you love math on tests or in our industry. I worry about if you're apathetic about the math. You don't care one way or another. That's what puts you at risk in terms of these exams. What about you, Brian? I think you're a love math guy, right?
I was going to tell you that 2 plus 2 equals 4, whether you're on Earth or Alpha Centauri.
there you
That,
go.
my friend, is truth and beauty. The beauty of the universe.
I told you, those math geeks. He's only a test geek. He's a math geek. I am not, but I'll happily join you. No worries. No, we don't listen. Only if it's productive. I'm just letting you know it's available. So, I don't want anybody to spend time with us if they don't want to spend time. Thank you for the response. I have STC. They make it so complex. That's true. All test takers do, by the way. A little lecture. I'm going to take a second to take a piece of the cake. I love it. I'm not sure what the heck is this. This sounds like spam. We're not here, D17. I don't know. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to take you, but we're not here to talk about investments. We're here to talk about people passing their tests.
Move on.
65 getting me to high 70s. Love it, Jackie. I love your dog. I wish I could blow him up. Is that a Great Dane sitting there? He looks like a big ass dog. I love big dogs. Brian, you missed this last Tuesday, but I put a Sadie was running loose. I bought Mom this Pyrenees Border Collie. She interrupted things. I took a picture of her in her cage. I said, she's serving time for interrupting our live stream. And then one of our test takers used AI to put her in a jail uniform and put like a plaque, a mugshot. And my sister-in-law, my mom, everything thought was so cute. And they thought I did it. They go, oh, I didn't know you know how to do that. I go, I didn't. Somebody else did. Let us know what kind of dog we're looking at, Jackie. I don't know. Maybe not a Great Dane because I think it looks a little beefy to be a Great Dane, but we're seeing it laying down. If your dog stands up, Jackie, then we would know. Maybe it's a bull mastiff. I had a Marine buddy, and he had a bull mastiff named Chesty after Chesty Puller, a very famous Marine. So this dog has done tens of thousands of dollars of damage to my place. I'm hoping she's past the puppy stage. Also, thoughts on checking answers after. I don't believe in checking answers. So, Jeremiah, here's another thing I disagree with. So, and then we'll see if what Brian thinks. A lot of people in our space believe that you should look at the answers of the ones you got right and you got wrong. So let's first talk about that. When doing a test simulation, you want to simulate the exam as much as possible. That's right. So I don't believe in checking answers as you go. I got it. I'm a genius. Oh, what was me? No, make it like a simulate exam. Now, at the end of that simulation, I only believe in remediating things you got wrong. And here's why. Other people say you should remediate every answer, right or wrong, just to make sure you got it right for the right reasons. I think that will come out of the wash. If you're going to do 5, 6, 7 practice exams, that will come out. Now, if Brian says, Dean, every question I'm going to remediate, ones I got right and wrong, and I just remediate the ones I got wrong, I'm going to be able to identify a lot more areas for remediation than Brian is. So I don't believe, contrary to other people in our space, you should review every answer right and wrong. I think you're doing an intellectual inventory and you're trying to identify things you don't know, things you got wrong, not things you got right. So, Brian, your thoughts on when you remediate, I think you agree with me, we shouldn't be checking every answer.
And that's exactly his question. If you're taking a simulated exam, you check no answers until you're complete. The word simulation is there for a reason. You want to simulate the test-taking environment. No answers until you're finished.
Brian, what do you think about remediating every answer right and wrong after you take the simulated exam versus just remediating the things you got wrong?
No, just the wrong ones. Yeah. My God, that would take you another 6 hours to do it anyway.
Exactly right.
No wonder you're burned out.
Yeah, I think, listen, I love that. Listen, you can send me, this is called livestream at guruexamprep.com. And so send me an email. I think that's okay. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself to do that. And so, I'm closing up. I love it. But also check in. You're not alone. So I would like you to check in. If you decide to take a day off, just, send me an email, livestream at guruexamprep.com. Just let me know. I can't tell you how many people loving the plan who do that, and then they take that next practice exam, their score bumps up because they're refreshed, they're reset, they're bright-eyed, they're bushy-tailed, So I totally recommend that. And then just check in with me. Just either check in with me before you do your next practice test or after. But check in. Let us know. Let us know. Remember, the biggest thing about Tuesday nights is you're not alone. We're here to help you and lift you up. Brian, your thoughts on this one? Would you be with me?
Yeah, this is you get this question a lot.
We'd like to know more data. I would say I'd like more data. Maybe give it to us earlier.
That's right. I'm not the sharpest pencil in the pencil box, but I've always passed an exam, college, whatever it is. But because I'm not the top tier of my class, I'm not comfortable taking a day off personally. I might take a lighter day, but I personally can't take a day off. I'll review something for now.
Brian, the way I say this is a tiger can't change its stripes.
That's exactly right.
And I had a young lady, and I knew she was not going to do it. I said, listen, you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm here to support you. But, hey, it is what it is. So.
Exactly.
And by the way, I don't agree with that. I do think you're the sharpest tool in the shed. Brian, don't sell yourself short, my friend.
Okay. At my age, it doesn't matter much anymore. But
yeah, 65 can be a real challenge. Brian and we get a lot of heat from this, a lot. Because when people ask us the hardest exams, I put the Series 10. I don't know if Friendly is with us still or not. But I would put the 10 and the 65 in that category of hardest exams. Here's why. If you are a tabula rasa coming to the 65, that's Latin for blank slate, it can be very difficult because there's no narrative to the 65. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
So I like that you're finishing on your 65, but boy, that's a good testing victory for sure. Check out our playlist. Brian and I, I've done some joint work on the 65. What your thoughts on that, Brian? Just, finish.
This is the gentleman who just put the U.S. antimony 7.5.
Oh, okay.
It looks like he's working on 65.
Okay, cool. Maybe we should make a separate. My brother keeps trying to talk me to make a separate YouTube channel about investments. And I told you next week we're going to be Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time because I have had people ask me to do other things that aren't about passing tests. I'm doing that fireside chat. And, I gave him my bio and I said, I'm now an educator of the securities industry to make sure people understand I'm not selling investment advice. I'm not selling investments. But maybe we need to start a separate YouTube channel with, where we do talk investments. Oh, is that crazy? People used to say, so Brian, I got two stories for you. One, I was doing a seminar and Carol, one of my best clients, said, Dean, Google's wrong about you. I said, it is. What's it say? It says you're a missionary. I said, oh, that's Dean Tinney Sr. Yeah, I'm not Dean Tinney.
I didn't know you were a junior.
Yeah, I'm a little, in the South, we call it little Dean. Even though I'm a big Dean.
I knew your dad was a missionary, but I didn't know you were a junior.
So I'm called little Dean. Anyways, it's funny. I had this happen. Somebody said they put me into Gemini. I don't know if this is chat. So, AI is very friendly to Brian. So anyways, I read back what Chat GPT said about me. I go, wow, that's so flattering. But I hear that the AI is very flattering to people like me. And she goes, Dean, only if you were the person who put it in. If I put it in, then it's not going to be flattering to you. So that's great. Well, that's fantastic. Flipping, this is funny too. When I told Brian I was going to do some AI practice test, he goes, what about copyright? I go, no way, they're coming after me because they're scraping the internet for Brian. They're stealing our content, I told Brian. In fact, Brian, when I did that SIE practice test, I found questions that are my questions. And they're your questions. I go, yeah. So if anybody's stealing from anybody, it's the AI. Well, that's flattering. So I guess now instead of saying just Google me, I'll say, Brian, just AI me.
That's the new noun.
Yeah, it's funny. Hat-trick completed. Woo!
That feels good, doesn't it? Boy, that feels good.
Niket, I think that's an Indian name. I apologize again if I'm not getting the enunciation properly. Niket, listen, our reason and our season is over. The reason you join us is to pass your exams, which you've done, and the season and how long that takes. As we said, the hat trick is 3 successes in a short time frame, which Niket has done. What should be next? Using your registrations to provide for yourself, your family, and your clients. I always joke, if you're poor and deserve to be rich, the securities industry is for you.
Now you're all set up.
So, Brian, how many times we talked about gratification? So, we get gratification with a post like yours, but the other post I love that we get, and sometimes it happens in a bar or a restaurant or at the airport or wherever, where we don't know why people are coming up to Brian and I or picking up our bar tab or our dinner tab. And then we find out that it's been 10 years, but they took their 7. Like I told you about that guy who told me he called his rep and they made some money and they're, taking care of us. So I guess what should be next is to use your registrations for the purpose that you got them. Again, it's another separate maybe YouTube channel, but I used to be a sales trainer and I used to do a boot camp for stockbrokers, but that's not what this channel is about. So, I've been thinking about expanding, but listen, I'm 63. I should be a coupon clipper at this point. So I should be in the stage of making more YouTube channels and doing sales training. What do you think? Go forth. May the force be with you, Brian.
I'm planning trips to Europe next year.
Yeah. But what about our friend here? We would just say what should be next is may the force be with you. That's go use your registrations, right? The way I say it sometimes is welcome to our securities industry. I think there's no better industry. And this is surprising. I thought, Brian, when I got into social media, I would end up being one of those old guys, get off my lawn guy. But I'm so excited to see all the new blood coming into our industry that are going to help themselves and help their clients and help their family. It's been the opposite effect. It's something that keeps me active because, we talked about this, Brian and I get together all the time. And I say, why am I doing this? I don't need the money. And I could be smoking cigars and drinking. I got I don't think I can possibly smoke all the cigars I got in my humidors. But and then I get people like this. I go, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. Bridge, Brian and I have been meeting, as he knows, my test is the 20th, wanting some advice on Muni Slob's Bliss, perhaps. Well, that's a big one. I should tell you that we're over an hour, but I don't mind because tomorrow or next Tuesday, we're going to be truncated. And so I don't mind. I'm going to go as long as we want to go tonight. I don't know if Brian has a significant other and he has other interests besides the securities industry. He may want to stick around or not stick around, but tonight we're going for it. We're going to go as long as we want to go. Brian, he's already your student. Do you want me to give it a try?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but I'm going to qualify this question a little bit. The dude is scoring in the 80s.
Wow.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
So I'm going to give you my advice, and then we'll see what your sensei says. Your sensei, Brian, your rabbi, I don't know what we're going to call Brian. Hi, you guys. So munis, first thing. My advice on munis, this is for everybody, not just people getting 80s. I would fold a sheet of paper in half, and on one side, write all the terms associated with GOs, and on the other, all the terms associated with revenues. Because a big part of your exam is going to be distinguishing between GOs and revenues. I'm assuming, Brian, that this guy's taken a 7 based on his question. Yeah. Slobs and bliss. So types of orders are not as testable. And I'll hold myself accountable. I have a video that's like 90 minutes on secondary trading. And one of my haters said, boy, you watch this video, you could become a trader on a desk. I took it as a compliment. He took it as a dick. But I would admit that that's probably overkill in terms of what you want to know. Now, I would tell you, though, the Series 7 is based on critical functions of being a broker. Right? So if you're trying to decide how testable it is, do I think a retail stockbroker at Vanguard or Schwab or Fidelity or Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley or Raymond James would know this? The answer is yes. Right? Then that means it's testable. If I say, hey, I don't have the answer, but here's somebody at our firm does. I think I missed every question about advanced option strategies. Somebody asks you what a stock is, you go, I don't know myself. That's a problem. Now, slobs over bliss is to remind us of where we place orders in relationship to the current market price. It's a memory aid device. And I'll give it back to Brian in a sec. I think it's more important you understand the use of the order than where it's placed. I'm not saying it's not testable. It is. But I would know that a sell limit is when you want to sell the stock at your price or more. And it makes sense that it would be above the order. I joke. Ziggy, what is the stock price of Apple?
Apple stock closed at $310.66 on the NASAA.
So Apple's
down
310.
0.6.
So you would be very foolish to tell me that you want to sell Apple at 308. I said, I'm here for you. You must be new. You just sold Apple at 308 to me. Now, there are people in our business that think we should treat you lessons the hard way, right? So you should put your sell limit above 310. Say, Dean, I want to sell Apple at 312. I go, what's 310? You go, I know, I want to sell 312. That's your price or better, right? A buy stop. You should know that a buy stop is used to protect a profit, establish a stock position, or to protect stop a loss. So this would be very foolish. You say, Dean, I want to short Apple at 310. I go, well, that's really stupid. I don't know why you'd want to do that. That's going to subject you to unlimited risk. So if you're going to short at 310, I'd only put a buy stop at 312 to stop the loss. That's the number one reason, is to stop the bleeding, stop the loss. That's placed above the market. I think that's more important, by the way, to know that a buy stop mitigates the risk in a short stock position than where it's placed. But indeed, it's testable to know it's above the market. Now, whether you want to buy stop that triggers into a market order or limit order, it's still above the market. Buy limits and sell stops. So again, Apple's 310. You say, Dean, I want to buy it at 312 or less. I go, well, you must be new. You just bought it at 312 from me. I'll buy it at 310, fill you at 312. You should put that at 308, 309, right? So, and there's an implied or better, right? And when you're using sell limits or buy limits, price is more important to you than execution. I get, Brian, so frustrated with people that know that. Market orders are immediate execution. I'm not worried about the price. I had a guy at the cigar lounge, Brian. I know this is funny. I told Steve to pick me out a Patron, and he came back with the cigar, and we're lighting it up. And the guy next to me is named Anthony. He goes, what's that cigar cost? I go, I don't know. And he was incredulous. He goes, you don't know what it costs? I go, no, I don't really care. It's a market order. I just told Steve. He never has led me wrong. I don't know. It could be $200 for all I know, but what do I care? He goes, I think it's like $40. I go, well, I don't. Steve, what's the cigar? He goes, it's $30. The guy next to me bought one. I think it was because he thought it was going to be like $200 or something, right? A limit order would win when I tell Steve to go in the humidor and pick me a cigar for 30 or less, right? I'm more interested in getting the cigar for 30 or less than I am getting a great cigar, right? So that's a buy limit. Sell stop is used again to stop a loss, protect a profit, or establish a stock position. So Apple's at 310. You say, hey, Dean, let's buy it at 310 and put a sell stop at 308. I'm willing to lose a couple points. Stop the bleeding. Again, it's more important, I think, Brian, and I'll turn back to Brian in a minute, to know what we're using the order for, suitability, than it is to know where we place it, even though that placement is testable. And it can either be a sell stop or a sell stop limit. Again, it'd be foolish to say two separate events, by the way, that you want, your price, but, trigger market order, trigger limit order, because now you are adding more contingency. I guess I would say the more contingency or qualifiers you add, the less likely your order is to get executed. So you can put in a stop order, comes a market order, limit order. Only two types of orders, markets and limits. Granted, a zillion qualifiers we can add. All right, let me get Brian back into the mix, Brian. And what do you think about my discussion of those two areas?
Absolutely. First of all,
anything you would add?
We're not going to OD on it too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. Don't overdose on it.
It's a big part of textbooks and practice questions, but again, it's fairly lightly tested.
I think I'm guilty too, Brian. I'm guilty too when we're doing that on that.
Yeah. And you were mentioning earlier about the joy that you and I get from doing this for as long as we have. Mm-hmm. One of the joys I get when I come up with somebody like Bridge, and we went through a couple of sessions, and I just said, Bridge, do you have the test center's phone number? It's time. You're ready. I can't tell you how much that makes me feel good to tell somebody you're ready to do it.
We got a guy on social media. We got a guy, Brian, on social media that I almost haven't banned him yet. I tease him, but he's putting all his scores in the 80s and 90s. And, and I said, listen, most of us are tired of hearing this. This isn't the mission of the channel. Our baby brokers and hat tricks. Today he posted another one. He's testing in 2 weeks. And you're saying, I told him, I go get your test, please. We don't want to hear from you for another 2 weeks about how great you're doing. So anyways, somebody had posted, we all know you're ready to pass your test. And then I said, how embarrassing is it going to be for him if he doesn't make his mark? There's a fine line between that and hubris. So right on.
Exactly.
I'm not know what why means. I'm not sure what that means. Well, there you go. Love that. Love that. So let's ring the bell. Oh man, we got a big one coming up here. Oh, by the way, I got a super chat, Brian, for $10. I forgot to say thank you, so I apologize. I didn't get the chance to say thank you. We love super chats. Thank you so much. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You have an incredible mentor. You have been an incredible mentor and teacher. Thank you so much. I believe in paying that forward. I think I got very lucky in life to have 2 or 3 very powerful mentors and teachers in my life. Unfortunately, I'm at an age they've all passed on now, but I think of Mr. K and I think of Lewis, and I think how blessed I was. And I tell this to baby brokers too, Brian. I feel blessed that in my life, I know some people are challenged financially. I come from very, very humble beginnings. But if you can, I feel blessed that I always thought the learning experience in the beginning of the career was more important than the money. I always thought the money would come one way or another, later or whatever. And I was very blessed that ended up being true. Mr. K's son, who I worked for, has found me on social media. And I said to him, I said, Jeff, you could have kept the band together. If you would have just paid us what you should have paid us, none of us would have left. He said, well, that's my business model. I go, well, kind of a sad thing. There you go. I warms my heart, dear. That just warms my heart. As we said, very gratifying. And then another super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. No, that's all right. That's all right. Hey, but if you gift or gratuity rule does not apply to the Test Geek and to the Series 7 Guru. And so, Brian, I don't know if I told you this. We did it remotely from the old Havana Cigar Lounge. I came into the cigar lounge, and the guy said, hey, you know so-and-so? I go, no. He said he called. He said, is this the home lounge of Dean? He goes, yeah, this is his lounge. And he said, well, Dean, he bought you a Patron 40. I go, thank you so much. So you don't have to send it to me. You could call the old Havana Cigar Lounge in Prescott and say, hey, I'd like to hook up Dean with a cigar. We were joking, Dira, during the live stream. Brian was with us. This was Tuesday before last. And I was joking. I said, can we get a cigar for $10? And Steve said, I don't know. So, but we can pull it. It'll help. Every little bit helps. I wasn't who you told to go to the Friday class, but testing would happily join you if you have me. Absolutely. So go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. Go to the class tab. You'll see the free tutoring office hour for baby brokers doing hat tricks. You're welcome to join us. Now, just be careful because the Hippocratic Oath is first, do no harm. What I mean by that is don't join us if you think you're going to go backwards, right? So guard your psyche. If the minute you hear us talking about something doesn't speak to you, say I'm out. But you're welcome to join us. By the way, that invitation, it's capped. So if you go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com and it's not showing in the class tab, that means it's capped and then it drops off. It becomes hidden. I think I got it capped at like 10 people or something. So if that happens, just send me an email, live stream at guruexamprep.com, and I'll override it. Take the 65 on Friday. By the way, I think you'll have more access to me on the Thursday premiere in the chat. That won't be live like the class on Friday, but the chat will be there. 65 on Friday, 66 2 weeks. I love the Plan B, Aiden. Love it. Took the 63. Love it. I would say 65, and I'd be interested in Brian's thought. Just beware that 65 has more economic questions. But if you did your SIE, I think you're going to be okay. But that would be, I would say, that section is where the additional questions, for the most part, come from. Monetary, fiscal policy, business cycle, recession, that kind of thing. Brian, your thoughts on the 65 and the extra questions?
And a few more investment vehicles. Now, if you've taken your Series 7, and with a 66, I'm kind of assuming you did, that shouldn't be a problem. But from 17 investment vehicle questions on the 66 to 32.
Woo! There you go.
So almost double the investment vehicle question.
Yeah, but I think you're going to be fine. I love that as a plan. I don't like that as a plan A. I like that as a plan B.
Yes, I do too.
Ladybug, I think you're confusing 144 with 144A.
A. Yeah.
So let's add an A to that and I'll answer your question. Is Sadie out again? What? She's out. How'd she do that? Does she know on Tuesday nights? Are the shelves up or not? Damn dog. All right. Can you see her? Can you see her? All right. We'll call her. I'll put the shelves back up. All right. Sadie has made another escape. You know, I'm thinking she might be jealous when I'm doing these live streams. I should just bring her in the office and keep an eye on her while we're doing our live streams. So Ladybug, Brian has his board going there. And let me give Brian his board.
I don't think the question is that complicated. And again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I have a 144A question in my practice final. There's usually one that shows up on the Series 7 and, of course, Series 24 as well. But it's basically about institutions who buy private placement stock. They would have to file.
You called her?
They would have to file what's called 144A. Now, sometimes on the test question, they may mention institutions using the acronym QIBs, Qualified Institutional Buyers. So that's really all you have to know. Connect the word institution to 144A.
So, what I would add to that, I forget what exam you're taking, is QIBs. What this means under Rule 144A is that QIBs are allowed to buy unregistered foreign and domestic securities. That's what this rule is about. And then 144 is about the volume limitations by control persons, officers, directors, and principal stockholders. This is very testable. So I like Brian's point. He's distinguishing that 144A is a low probability recognition question. Rule 144 is very high probability. I'll return it to you, Brian.
Yep, I'm done. That's it. You got it.
I was going to say, so a good way to remember this, Ladybug, is 144. 144. A control person can sell 1% of the outstanding stock, one, or the average of the last 4 weeks trading volume, 4, up to 4 times a year every 90 days. They have to file that form at or prior. It's good for 90 days. So then second point, the control person either has registered stock they got in the secondary market, no holding period, or they got directly from the issuer, in which they would have a 6-month hold. So it's a recognition and perhaps lower probability practical application question. There you go. We've assumed that's what you meant. Yeah. I don't even know what that means. Hello, Denzel. So hello, Denzel, with 2 L's. Your comment got skipped. I don't know, Sam, why. Let me go back. So, Sam, I'm not sure what your comment is. I'm flipping back. I apologize.
Yeah, I don't think I saw.
Did you see anything on Sam?
I don't.
Sam, just read your comment. Just put it back in there. If I ever miss you, just put it back in, and I'll find it. I apologize. Any tips? So, Brett, I do have permission from Notman Marks. They are the preeminent provider for Series 79. And I do have one of their practice tests I have not explicated yet on my channel. I just haven't got around to it. But any tips? I don't know what tips I would have for 79. I would, again, kind of the same comment I make on 66, 65s. Don't let the math, don't spend, the math won't kill you. I shouldn't say there's not any math, there is. But it's not a math test. So that would be my tip, is don't worry as much about the math as you might be tempted to. Greetings from Chicago. Yeah, sad loss. Past the 63. Woohoo! The gate trick. The gate trick. Hat trick.
It is the gate trick.
More testing. Now, I always, as red tip, warn people that 65 is the most challenging of the dragons you've already slayed. So you have slayed your SIE dragon, you've slayed your 6 dragon, you've slayed your 63 dragon, but boy, that 65 dragon breathes some real fire. So be careful. Yeah, they have. That's used for students. By the way, there's a lot of Ezra conflation about what this is and what it is not. Brian and I are focused on the test. We're not focused on what this means for you in the process right now. But this rule has been changed. Now, FINRA does when they have a rule change is they remove the old questions that are no longer current. And then they reintroduce the new questions and they test them for validity. So you won't see any questions about if you fail the test you're presently taking, how long do you have to wait? 30 days, because that'll be removed. And then what will happen about a month or 6 weeks from now, those questions will be reintroduced. If you fail the test you're presently taking, and they test them for validity, it still won't count against you. Now, this is an area, Brian, where every time there's a rule change, Brian and I have the experience over the decades of these rule changes, and we can't believe how wobbly people get on this stuff. There's a huge conflation right now with test takers and content creators about what this means. I'm only concerned about what it means as a test taker. What it means for you with your window open currently testing is a separate issue. So when FINRA publishes the regulatory notice it's effective, that's meant to be effective. I don't care about that. I care about how it's tested and when it's tested, to be determined. Brian, your thoughts on this one?
It's not even a rule yet, so I don't want to talk about it.
There you
If
go.
it's not on the test, I don't talk about it.
Then it won't be on the test because they're going to remove it.
That's
Brian, could you draw your graph for short stock? Sometimes I struggle with short stock, short put. I think the main test question, I'll do that, but the main test question is that has unlimited risk. You haven't effectively hedged the short stock position.
Yeah, I think what they're referring to is my little hedge diagram.
Yeah, you actually add that to your matrix. I don't do that, but I know you do, and people find that very helpful.
I have a great story on how we added that, but that's for another time. I use this little graphic for hedge strategies. Now, hedge strategies is on every single test. It's far more on the Series 7, of course. There might be one question on all the other exams except 6 and 63. But so anyway, the graph is if you own stock, right? If you own stock, long stock, that means you own it. Then the only option choices you would ever use is buying a put and selling a call. Okay? Now, for the short stock position, it's simply the opposite. Now, I don't know what we're getting confused over, really. Okay, now we hedge for two reasons: either to protect the stock or to generate income. Well, guess what? Either to protect the stock, and of course, we always, for those of you who've seen my videos, you know what my dear old dad always used to tell me, right? Always buy protection, right? So we're always buying for protection, we're always selling for income. So there really isn't anything else testable anyway, because all they want to ask you is if an investor is short the stock and he's afraid the stock might go through a rally, what can he do to protect his short position? You buy a call, right? If he is a short position and wants to generate income from a short-term whatever, then he does that. And that's really all you have to do. There's no real theory behind any of this.
The other thing I would add to that, I think you should, as a test taker, recognize that short the stock and short the put has unlimited risk.
Okay.
Right. So, you have an effect.
I don't think that's tested, but that's right. Yeah.
So, Brian, listen, we disagree a lot of times. I had Brian just today. I said, I have a friend, Brian, who says this 30-second radio commercial thing is on the test. I've never had anybody tell me they've seen it. But since I've said that, I've had 3-4 people. Dang, I've seen that.
I've seen it. Yeah.
All right. Been using both of you all's videos to prepare for the 65 test this Thursday. Anything I should do specific tomorrow? Get some rest. The execution of your study plan is over. So tomorrow, you got to be confident in the execution of your study plan because it's over. You got to be confident in yourself. Most importantly, you got to be confident in your answers on test day, which is Thursday, right? So keep your rhythm. Tomorrow's just about keeping your rhythm. It's like shoot around, right? Just get some shots up. Keep your rhythm, whether it's doing quizzes or reading your notes. Don't try and learn anything brand new tomorrow. Just kind of lock in what you already know. Your thoughts on that one, Brian?
Yeah. Now, the day before the test, right, we're going to shorten it, make it easy, last minute things, review your last final exam, perhaps, rewrite some notes. Dean's Mighty 90 is the perfect.
Oh, I like that.
It's perfect.
Mighty 90. I get so many. So when I started my YouTube channel 5 years ago, people told me nobody would ever watch 60-minute videos. And, I'm an old school kind of guy like Brian with a dry erase board, stand and deliver my lectures. As I play and record, unbeknownst to me, all those people were wrong. People will watch longer videos if you add value. And I did a whole series of Series 7 to 60 minutes. They've been copied now. I told you, not only is Ken Finnan calling himself the Series 7 Whisperer, but now he has the Power Hour, which is a direct copy of my 60 minutes. But then I thought, well, if people want 60 minutes, Brian, let's give them 90 minutes. So we have the Mighty 90s. They're all a separate playlist. And I get all kinds of comments that they've made major contributions to testing victories. Now, Wiz, I should tell you, I don't have any expectation that you're going to learn new stuff in 60 or 90 minutes. What I want those videos to do is confirm testable content. You go, oh, yeah, I know that. And try and get you in a flow state. Because it's not a natural circadian rhythm to take a 65 exam. And so I'm hoping that might help you night before or morning just to kind of get some rhythm. My version of that shoot around, right? So thank you, Brian. That Mighty 90 is, I like those, my Mighty 90.
If I might add one more comment very quickly to friendly user, please email me tomorrow. I'd be more than happy to talk to you directly about any of these.
Yeah, listen, Brian, this drives me nuts with people on social media. Brian is not the Wizard of Oz. He's not in some secluded kingdom somewhere. And I can't tell you how many people in social media will be talking about Brian's content. I give him your email. I said, just send him an email, call him. He's more than happy to talk to you about your test issues and your content, his content particularly, because there's questions I don't like, particularly about some Brian questions I don't like. But I go, hey, take it up with Brian. I'm not going to sit here and defend his question. He's more than happy to tell you why he thinks it's what it is. By the way, you even my haters love you. I guess they just hate me. They don't hate you. They that Brian Lee, he's solid. I'm like,
no, stop it.
6 days. I read through the taking notes. What should I do? Well, the last couple of days. Well, you don't have a couple of days. If I'm reading it right, you have 6 days.
Yeah, almost a week.
So I think you should do a practice test. I'd like more data. So what practice test? You should be doing an intellectual inventory, no more than one a day. So come back 6 days. I guess it's too late. But you should be doing a practice test. We can't answer this without more data. So I want you to do a practice test. That's my recommendation. Your recommendation, Brian?
Yeah, it's the same one I've given 4 times already, right? Same thing. Find those weak areas on each one of these and then rinse and repeat, right? Same thing. Simulated exam, performance tracker. I'm telling you, man, I have found so much success. People are increasing their scores 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 points just by remediating some of those weaknesses.
Remediation is so key. It's process. And people leave that out of their process and it puts themselves at risk. So, remediation. You can put it in Google and it'll give you the definition. It's identifying the areas that you need to get better at.
That's right.
What a big thing! The 65 is challenging because I don't think, Ezra, there is a big thing, right? So, Brian, what do you think the big thing on 65 is? I'm joking, Ezra, but
financial statements, investment vehicles, types of accounts, laws and regs.
Everything.
A lot of it, yes.
Evening, gents. Taking 63 Thursday, still getting beat up. Well, listen, we have some good news for you. Brian was kind enough to make a video called Definition of Registration Persons. Brian, I haven't checked that video, but I think it has 200,000-300,000 views.
Yeah, we made it, 3 years ago? Something like that?
Yeah. We get that all the time. We made it 3 years ago. It's still good.
And I have that registration cheat sheet as well. I send it out 10 times a day.
Brian,
so
Locomotion, we have 2 major recommendations for you. We think can make a huge contribution. One is the video called Definitions of Registration in Person. Put that in the church bar. Brian made that video in an evening class we did. And then secondly, take Brian up. Everybody, he's made this offer a gazillion times. It will sunset. At some point, I would, if you're watching this now, because I'll clip it, and if you're watching it, I would tell you, listen, if Brian's 75 years old and you send him an email saying, send me the cheat sheet, he may not respond. For either he's not here or he's in Europe. I don't know. But he has a cheat sheet. Again, another thing everybody has been copying, Brian. Talk about plagiarism. They just have taken your cheat sheet. So send him an email, brian@testgeekexamprep.com, brian@testgeekexamprep.com, or examprep.com, and say, I would like to accept the offer for the cheat sheet. I actually use it, Locomotion, when I'm tutoring. I pull it up on a screen and I say, Locomotion, where are you in this cheat sheet? Oh, there's you. There's your firm. Is your firm got an investment advisor? Oh, there's your investment advisor rep. I don't like he calls it a cheat sheet because I'm afraid, Brian, someone's going to leave it at the exam site. But I call it kind of like a nice flow chart. What bucket are you in? Bucket. So make sure all of you listening, if you're taking a 63, a 65, or 66, a NASAA exam, please send Brian an email requesting the cheat sheet.
We'll make one more mention. Since he's taking the 63, that exam's going to focus far more on the broker dealers and agents.
Exactly right. Exactly.
65, 66 is more on the IAs and the IAs.
Good point. And again, the 63 is very much on unethical business practices.
That's exactly.
And make sure you do. This is one exam where I think you should exhaust your Q bank. Now, Brian and I disagree about how many Q bank questions you should do. If you miss your exam at 63, and I'm your accountability partner, your corporate trainer, first thing I'm going to do is punch up your Q bank usage backstage. And if you miss your 63, there's a direct correlation to not doing as many Q questions. Hey, look at this. Woo!
It's our option guy again.
Yeah, in a podcast, what do you think we're doing? We're doing a podcast.
He actually has. Him and I have actually done a 65 podcast and a 66 podcast. It's recorded on his platform.
We're going to have to try and get Brian backstage and do more of that. I've actually tried to cut back a little bit on tutoring just to do more of that kind of stuff. I'm trying to at least offer access once a week and some free content and do some more podcasts. So we're doing $20. There we go. That would buy.
And D17 is, you probably don't care about this, but from our standpoint, it's kind of a lot different than all the other things we've done for the past 30 years. So it's really fun for us to do.
Yeah,
I really enjoy doing those podcasts.
I appreciate Brian. Brian has more of a life outside of this than I do. So I always appreciate when he joins us. So, I passed my Series 7 earlier today. Woo!
Wow.
Yes, Mitchell, I do have some advice for you. Treat the 66 with respect.
Yes, please.
Every exam should be treated with the proper respect. There's no reason for you, Mitchell, to not have a pep in your step from passing your Series 7. But the Greeks have a term for this, hubris. The biblical concept, my missionary father, is pride goeth before the fall. And there's no reason you don't feel good, but you can actually go in that 66 and go, oh, I know this, I know that. But the way you get tested on that 66 is much different. So that would be my advice. My biggest advice is treat the 66 as its own entity. Each and every exam should be treated as a separate performance opportunity. Brian, your thoughts?
And speaking about the podcast, that's your first step, is watch Dean and I's podcast on the Series 66.
Yeah, we have eventually.
First thing we say is watch out for the hubris. Treat it with respect.
Yeah, we have a great
podcast. Yeah.
I should actually link that. In the video description, there's links to videos. I don't know if I have that link, but I should provide that. So Brian and I did in the playlist for 66, there's 4 playlists. The first one, Brian and I are very proud of, and it gives you an overview of the 66 exam. And I think the first episode is just this.
That's exactly right.
And I think it gives you a nice view of the terroir, the terrain, And I'm not coming, Brian, you don't need to read the book, just watch our video overview. But, if you're not going to read the book, please watch our video overview.
Do both is what you're supposed to do.
I'm scoring 80s, fantastic. Oh, plenty good. Variance and past perfect. I joke. Past perfect are bigger jerks than the real jerks. They're trying to stretch your mind and hope it doesn't go back to the same place. I don't believe in that as a test person, test prep vendor, but it works for them. So the good news is you can rely on a pass perfect score. I like that. So you shouldn't have any second thoughts whatsoever on those pass perfect scores. Now, I would suggest, Sam, just to confirm those scores, go to my Series 7 playlist practice tests. I have a whole playlist of practice tests. One of them is Brian's. He's been kind enough to let us put it up for free. And just see if that score, hit pause, hit play, get that score, and see if it confirms your pass perfect. I'm sure it will. And Brian has very strong correlation to the actual exam. There's also a Notman practice test. There's some Kaplan practice tests. There's one I wrote myself that is based on debrief. So maybe check out some, I guess what I'm saying is don't be monogamous with pass perfect. Get some confirmation, but I think really great. If I were your corporate trainer, I'd feel really good and say, hey, no worries. Brian, your thoughts on this one?
If I may. Sam, this happens with everyone, no matter which textbook they're using. Kaplan, STC, Pass Perfect. If you take the randomized test questions or practice questions, you're going to be pulling from a much deeper pool of questions. In other words, ones that are in Alice's rabbit hole, they're down the rabbit hole, they're just in the weeds, and that's why those scores are typically lower. The simulated exams, especially Kaplan's, and I would imagine Pass Perfects, are far more representative of what you'll actually see on the test, and therefore the score is a little bit more correlative. So the simulated exam in the 80s, that's probably a more accurate representation. Don't get too discouraged about these random questions because they just get too far. Yeah. And besides, people start worrying about all these, esoteric terms, concepts and stuff. And it's like,
don't go down a rabbit hole. Please. Make sure you stay on the broad avenues and highways of this information.
Dude, you're ready. Take the test.
Yes. Awesome. You guys are great. Well, thank you so much. Putting some of your content in podcast form. I think, Ezra, we've done that. There's podcasts on the YouTube channel. There are the podcasts Brian and I have done are on Spotify. Yeah. But yeah, I'll get backstage with Brian. Next time Brian and I convene, we do rendezvous every now and again. And maybe we'll come up with a something to do. So I think what we've done so far has been very successful in terms of helping test takers. So I would appreciate some more input, Ezra, if we were going to do more content in podcast form. Check out our existing podcasts. We have, what do you think, Brian? We did a 65 podcast together. We did a 66 podcast together.
That's right. We did those two. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe of course, we did the registration of broker dealers.
Yeah. And so, but tell us what you're interested in. And again, sticking within our mission, which is test content. I don't want to be the Zig Ziglar or Tony Robbins of test taking. I don't think Brian wants to. We want to be focused on helping people pass their tests. Within that, though, if you have any recommendations, let us know.
And you got to remember, we do 8 different exams at least, right? Yeah. So, it's not for all users. Someone's not taking a 7, someone's not taking a 65. So It's hard to do kind of just general overview podcasts on taking tests. Because we have to be content specific. It's about the exam, just like Dean said, to help people pass. That's what we do.
Yeah. And I call it style drift. We wouldn't want to do anything else because that's called style drift, right? As much as I love my friends, Brian Marks, if you're listening, I love you. But I love Notman Marks. And I think Brian Marks should get way more credit than he gets for building a business. But they have this thing now called Highwire, and they're doing other things besides helping people prepare for tests. I have no problem. I wish him the best, but it doesn't speak to me. I don't want to do anything other than what our mission is, which is helping people pass their test the first time, we hope. And so it has to fit within that. So as a content creator, I see people who are making, they wonder sometimes why their videos don't get the reach they should. And it's because they have style drift. They're making videos that aren't about passing the Series 7. I told Brian I saw a 45-minute video from a content creator that had zero to do with passing a test. I go, I'm not going to help you, but that just sends mixed traffic signals to Google. They're like, Alphabet's going, okay, so what are you? You know, Alphabet knows Brian and I are helping people practice their exams, right? So we got to practice most difficult 65. Well, I don't want to prejudice people who are taking the test. So I'm going to say it this way, and I'll give it to Brian. What do I think the most difficult concepts people think they should absolutely master? That isn't true. And they spend all kinds of hours. So, Brian, I'm going to defer to you. I'm changing your question, Ezra, to what are the most difficult concepts test takers think they should absolutely master? And I'm going to say analytical methods. What do you say, Brian?
I say this in all honesty. The test covers so many different things. These are the areas that people struggle with the most. Notice, that's about 60 to 70% of the exam. It's all of it. It is a challenge. It has, I don't know if I should say this, Dean.
Go for it.
We believe the Series 65 has the lowest pass rate of all the exams that we do. One of the reasons, as Dean has already mentioned, is because it doesn't really have a narrative thread like most of the other exams. And it's so broad. It covers everything, right? So if you're tabula rasa, right, you're a blank slate, you have no experience in the industry, then you're going to be doing betas and alphas and balance sheets and current liquidity ratios and debt to equity ratios. There's a lot of stuff, not to mention the laws of recs. Now, these two are generally the two largest. But this is usually what makes people fail, is because they concentrate so much on this and not on this stuff. So I guess the general overview to all of this is all of it important. All of it is an area that you must master. Because if you don't master one or two of these things, you're probably going to end up with the 67%.
Brian, what do you think about my comment about what people think is the most difficult topics?
What they spend the most time on is laws and regs. And generally, that's a good reason, because it's a lot of legalese and stuff but guess what? When they get their test results back, it's the area that they typically score the highest in.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This is the area that people most think is the most difficult. These are the investment vehicles, and the financial stuff is usually the lowest areas they score.
So Ezra, what I would add to this is that when people tell me they miss their 65, and it's about analytical methods, I don't believe it. So I just think the only thing I would give you awareness of is be careful on going down the rabbit hole on present value, future value, DCF. Brian and I cover this in many, many videos, and but it's not the end all be all.
There you go. I was just going to say, bring you back, Dean. We need you back.
I have not messed up tonight at all.
That's okay. That's all right.
I'm a one-man band. We don't have like a production crew here. I watch some videos. I have YouTube channels I love, and I go, man, I wish I could do that. And I don't realize they have 4 or 5 people producing videos. Okay. Is it true I'm a big Van Halen? I think Eddie Van Halen is a genius, as a magician. Eddie Van Halen, I'll start with your first part of your question. He always started with the riff, and then either David Lee Roth wrote the lyrics or Sammy Hagar wrote the lyrics. Okay, we're off topic. This Brian, I'm now demonstrating style drift, right? I'm choosing to comment on Van Halen rather than test-taking topics. But I think Sammy Hagar's lyrics are much more philosophical and meaning than David Lee Roth's. Now I'm going to ask your question about Panama. So David Lee Roth was still writing lyrics at the time, and he got accused. So the way Van Halen has always worked, or did work, hurts my heart that there's so many geniuses like Eddie Van Halen, who get cut short because of alcohol or drugs or whatever. But the genius of Van Halen was always Eddie Van Halen. Everybody knew that. And he would come up with the music, and then he would either turn over to David Lee Roth or to Sammy Hagar for the lyrics. And in this case, David Lee Roth got accused of only writing lyrics about, the rock and roll stuff, sex and whatever. And he decided to write a different lyric. And you're correct that Panama is a car, a Lamborghini, that Eddie Van Halen had bought. In fact, that engine roar you hear in Panama is the Lamborghini that David Lee Roth. I think this is so incredibly fun because, I'm into, music and Van Halen. But he had bought that car, and then there's a lot of side things about how Sammy Hagar became the replacement. He had bought a Ferrari, and his guy who is the Ferrari guy said, you should talk to Eddie Van Halen. They're looking for a new player. And then Sammy Hagar said, I knew they're calling me. And his lyrics are a little different. But it is about a car. It's about a Lamborghini. It's not about Panama, the country, or a woman. I'm going to clean up, Ezra, your comment. It's about a car. But a lot of times, they can be confused. In Prince's case, the song Little Red Corvette is about a young lady. I'm feeling good and waiting for my cohort to finish material to take the 7, scoring 80, 85. Love this pocket aces. Love that. Pocket aces. Now, I don't think, Brian, you're not a card guy, I don't think. Would you just go ahead? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Last dozen leg is 63. Do you play cards, Brian? I don't think we played roulette.
I love playing blackjack. I don't do poker.
Okay.
I don't have 3 hours to sit at a
Okay,
poker.
all right. I got it. But I love it. Pocket ace. But I would imagine you know what pocket aces is, right? That's like the best hand. Pocket aces means I have aces and you don't know I have aces. Is that what that means, Brian? You know what that means?
It just means the first 2 cards you're dealt in Texas Hold'em are 2 aces.
And that means
They're always down.
Yeah. So that means I got them and you don't know I got them.
Well, you never know anybody's first 2 cards.
Yeah, but very, very unlikely I'm going to lose, right?
It's a high probability of winning.
Unless I have hubris.
That's right. Exactly. Doesn't mean you can't lose with pocket aces.
No. All right, guys. Thanks for all you do. We're 147, 147A. So 147 is an intrastate offering of securities. So the test question about 147 is we don't have to make a registration with the statement with the SEC if we're going to sell the security interest rate to only residents of that state, and the issuer has 80% of their business and assets within the state. After 6 months, the residents can sell. 147A opens that up to contiguous states. Is it heavily tested? I don't think so, Brian, but I think I would know 147 is an interstate offering securities. It's exempt. We don't have to register with the SEC.
Yeah, there always was 1 or 2.
65, 66, we have to register with the state, but you're taking 7. And then I don't think you're going to see 147A on the 7 at all. What do you think, Brian?
No. 1 question, maybe.
Yeah. Failed my SIE, scoring 65, 66 on Kaplan. Okay, well, I like that miss to be in the mid-70s. Just took it while watching you live. Oh, my God. Okay, I got to give you some tough love. Why? As Brian and I said, simulated exams should be like the real exam. You should closet yourself somewhere and do the test and then do it. Got an 80. What do you do now? Well, rinse and repeat. Now that I see you got an 80, I go, okay, well, I guess that worked. But you should.
80 questions. Are we doing an SIE? Is that what that is?
I don't know. Loving the plan. What do you think, Brian? So I'm just going to give you some tough love. I don't like that while you're watching the live stream. I don't listen. I want you to watch the live stream, but I would prefer that you're doing your practice test in a sequestered area with no interruptions. So loving the plan. I had a guy who gave me grief about this. I said, you got to get rid of the distractions. He said, Dean, my wife and kids are not distractions. I I go, I get it. They are definitely assets and not liabilities. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying when you sit down to do a practice test, you got to close the door or do whatever you got to do. And we don't want to have variables in the data. So I like you got an 80. But what I don't like, Brian, is when somebody has a variable in the data, it's not a clean score. So it's good that you got an 80. So I'm going to give you grief and get credit on that. What do you do now? Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. You have any comments on this, Brian?
Yeah, if this was the SIE, again, we've discussed this, right?
That's
Simulated exam, performance tracker, review the
Well,
week
it
area.
looks like we finally made it to the end tonight. Woohoo!
Yes.
Should we do try? Let me see if I can get the wheel up. I don't know if I can get the wheel up. I think I can.
Thank you. 2 hours are on my feet. I'm about done.
I'm with you, Brian. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, don't.
Appreciate you.
That's my issue.
Okay, so what do you want to have as our now? Listen, a couple things here. Remember, next week, I won't be doing the drawing because I'll be remote, and I'm not sure I can grab the giveaway tool. I can do it tonight, but please, two things: make sure you don't put this into the chat until I tell you, because what Brian writes on the board to win the drawing, you've got for a free coaching call tutoring hour. You've got, and you don't win a date and time of your choice. You win, you go to the class tab and you hit coaching call, and that's how you register. And then I'll show up and I'll go over whatever you want to go over. It's not up tonight. It'll be up tomorrow, perhaps. But so if it's not up, then check it. It's at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. So be careful. Don't put it in until Brian. It's got to be exactly how it puts on the board. We've kept Brian on his feet past 2 hours. I will reconvene and I'll finish up whatever we got, because next week, we got a hard close. No coaching call, drawing, and I got to be done in an hour. Okay, so Brian, what's going to be tonight?
Okay, here we go.
Now, what is that? Is that a T or an F?
It's which one? That's a T.
Okay, and what is that? Are they in Europe?
Football, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll make sure I got it in right here, right? So let me see.
There you go.
Okay, all right. So let me make sure I got it. Okay, you got to put it in exactly as O'Brien does it. So let me now put it on a shared screen. Shared screen.
No E. I was wondering about that. But
Oh, no E. I think I blew it.
well, this there is. I actually even Googled it and it said football. So
Okay, let me make sure I got it right. You're messing me up now. Hold on. Yeah, okay, I got it right. Okay, so now I got to put it up on the screen. Okay, share screen. Giveaway tool, football. Boom. All right, there we go. So put that on exactly how Brian has on the whiteboard. If you don't put it exactly how he has it, it won't pick it up. So make sure you do that. Let me get rid of the boom. Let me get rid of that.
it's technically right. But it's funny. You know what? It might be a Portuguese or.
I love Portugal. I spent time in Portugal. They make a lot of great wine, but it doesn't get exported because all the Portuguese drink it. And I actually did business in Brazil. And so, I have some Portuguese experience, like obrigada. I got to get some nice Portuguese port to put
Oh,
in.
well, we're not going to worry about the Assyric over the U. Come on.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's like doing the esoteric math. We're not going to do it. All right, so let's see what we got. We got only 9 entries. We probably lost people like 2 hours in.
Yeah.
Let's see. 9 entries. Is that it? Last call. I'm showing we still have 30, 40 people in here, so maybe they're not interested. I don't blame you. You don't want to spend an hour with me. I get it. I don't not hurt that you don't want to spend an hour with yours truly. All right, let's just do the drawing and let's get. Oh, now we got 11. Anybody else? Last call. Going once, going twice. All right, there's the drawing. Boom.
Yay!
All right, so Misa Takora. So go to deantenneytutoring.setmore.com. Don't do it tonight because I don't have it up yet. But tomorrow there'll be when you go to the class tab at deantenneytutoring.setmore.com, you'll see coaching call. You hit that, you register, and I show up and we talk about whatever you want to talk about. All right, Brian, thanks for joining us this evening. We appreciate it. I'm glad that we made it tonight. We don't always make it, but I'm glad that we did tonight. And I'll see if there's any remaining questions, and I'll answer those if necessary. Let's see if I've got everybody. With variable annuities, how variable annuities work. Brian, I'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Good
All
luck
right.
on the team. Bye-bye.
Will I answer your question? How annuities work? Variable annuities work. A variable annuity is a mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. It's a mutual fund with an insurance wrapper. Right? So in a variable annuity, you're using after-tax money you've already paid taxes on. Assuming you funded all of your other retirement alternatives available to you. You funded your IRA, you funded your 401k. And you said, Dean, I'm still interested in saving for retirement. I got $100,000. I said, okay, you paid taxes on the $100,000. That's the assumption. Let's put in a variable annuity. Now that money will go tax deferred. Your cost basis is $100,000. Cost of basis is simply when you turn the money into the investment. Again, it's not sponsored. It's not through an employer. So that's $100,000 you pay taxes on. Now, good news, unlike a mutual fund, you're not getting constructive receipt. The money is going to grow tax deferred in a separate account or sub account, a mutual fund. And when you reach 59 and a half, you have a lot of choices. You could annuitize, turn it into an income stream. You can do a lump sum distribution. You can do a random distribution. So I always think of Coco Gauff. So Coco Gauff wins Wimbledon. She wins $1 million. She says, Dean, I would like to put this $1 million in a variable annuity. So she's already paid taxes on the $1 million. And when she's 59 and a half, she says, Dean, what is in my variable annuity, my separate account, my sub account? I go $10 million. She goes, Dean, I would like to do a lump sum distribution. I say, I'm going to send you a check for $10 million. You owe taxes at ordinary income tax rates on the $9 million. All retirement plans, you're never getting anything other than ordinary income as a tax on the distributions on money you haven't paid taxes on. In this case, she's going to owe that on $9. Because remember, the $1 million she already paid taxes on. She said, well, Dean, I think I want to annuitize. I want to turn it into an income stream. I said, well, Coco, you have some choices here. You can turn it into life only and test question. That gives you the largest monthly payment. You can do a random distribution. She goes, well, Dean, I'll tell you what, don't send me the 10. Send the $1 million I already paid taxes on. I go, well, sorry, Coco, LIFO. The last money's in or the first money's out. Test question. If I send her $1 million, last money's in, first money's out. That's $1 million she hasn't paid taxes on. She owes taxes at ordinary income tax rates. That's called LIFO. Last money's in, first money's out. Very tested. Right? So those are the test questions of variable annuities. They're definitely there. You didn't tell us what exam you're taking, but all those exams, that's test one, all exams. All right. Anything else? That looks like it. All right. Well, remember, inch by inch, your exam's a cinch. Yard by yard, your exam is hard. As Brian says, you take the test. Don't let the test take you. And then make sure, remember, Tuesday, we're going to be starting early, 4 p.m. It's a hard close at 5 because I got to move on. I got a presentation due at 6 at my private club. So we won't have as much time to ramble as we did tonight. All right, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye. Same bat time, different bat time, same bat channel.